Hello everybody, Des12530 here, back again with another weapon review. Today will be a double review. The weapons we'll be reviewing today is the MDC, which I'll get to all of real life stats in a moment, and I will have the AKM. So, to start things off, I'm going to talk about the AKM in real life. If anyone who does not know what an AKM is in real life, the AKM is the somewhat modern-ish the most common version of the AK, or the Kalashnikov rifles used today. It fires a 7.62 by 39mm WP round, which is that was just the standard 7.62 round they had at the time, and it's still used today widely. It fired at a rate of 600 to 750 RPM, depending on what you did to it, although normally it's 600, don't quote me. And overall, the weapon is used throughout pretty much the entire world. You're not going to find a country besides maybe the US where you won't see an AK commonly being used in the military at some point or another, or at least used by like its paramilitary forces. As for its cost in game, it costs $12,000. It is automatic and semi-automatic in fire modes, and overall this is probably one of the first criminal-only weapons that you unlock, and I definitely recommend getting it. Onto the stats. So, in this game it obviously fires at 600 RPM. I already said its fire modes. It has a mag capacity of 30, but that can be increased to 35 with extended mags. It has a muzzle velocity of 580 meters per second, and its damage is 36 to 24, which 36 is up to like 25 meters, so it's a pretty long range weapon. And for recoil, it has a 0.6 upwards, a 0.15 to the right, a 0.15 to the left, 0.4 to the right, and it has a 3.0 first shot multiplier. So, to say this gun is a difficulty to control is a understatement. A big issue with this weapon is that you just can't hit anything more than like 10 meters away without tap firing. And even with attachments, the gun's recoil can be quite atrocious, especially because if you want better recoil, you have to trade out accuracy, which, even though I don't have access to it here, it is quite literally the most irritating weapon when it comes to accuracy, because sometimes you'll be dead on accurate, other times you won't be able to hit the broadside of a barn. Overall, though, I still love this weapon. I've always had a liking for the AKs, especially heavy-hitting AKs in Battlefield games. The only thing I'll have to say is this gun takes a lot of practice to get used to. The same will be said of the MDC, but slightly different in the way you have to learn it. As for my recommended loadout, it's really up to you. There's not much I can really say in terms of what you want for it, because the weapon is so like dead set on what it wants to be, which is just a high damage, high range, high recoil weapon. It's effectively just like a slightly more close quarters oriented battle rifle. As for the two ways I run it, I either run it with red dot sight, heavy barrel, and commando, or whatever the hell it is, angled foregrip? Yeah, it's angled foregrip. Angled foregrip just reduces first shot recoil, so that 3.0 first shot's going to be a bit less, so you can actually tap fire a bit more. Heavy barrel is just more accuracy on the gun. It's just to try and mitigate that, and it gives you a tiny bit of recoil reduction, so it's not like it helps overall. And any red dot. Mostly this weapon is just, you have to use it like an assault rifle. Don't be too close, don't be too far away. Overall, it's just not much I can say about it. As for the other loadout, which is my sort of you have to be up in their face type of weapon, but it's extremely good at it, I recommend the muzzle brake, the vertical foregrip to reduce your penalty for moving, a laser sight, and any red dot sight of your choice. Cobra is obviously my favorite, but the main way you're going to be using this is just because the muzzle brake reduces your recoil so much, especially your vertical recoil. You can now, like, you can deal with multiple people at once without having to tap fire. You can now just hold down the trigger and you'll be pretty good. And because you're going to be strafing a lot, the vertical foregrip just makes it easier for you to deal with. You know, all that incoming fire, all of that. So next we're going to review the MDC, which is a very much so stranger weapon in the way that it functions, because it's, how would I put it? It's very good, and it's a weapon I would definitely recommend getting, especially if you have the DLC to own it, obviously. But like I said, it's a strange weapon on paper because I'll just say it's an outlier within the assault rifle category, and I'll get onto its stats and tell you guys why.
Medkit, first come, first serve.
Okay, guys. So the MDR, or the microdynamic rifle, is a bullpup American rifle. That was made in 2016. It's not very, it's mostly made to be like a police weapon, although it fires 7.62 by 39mm, but it fires the NATO version. For its ammunition, it has 35 plus 1 in the mag. And for its stats, you actually can't find most of its stats because, yeah, they decided it was a good idea not to put the stats up. As for everything else, give me a second, because the stats were not told to me. Okay, guys, so I'm back. I just found some of the stats. I wasn't able to find all of them, sadly, but that's what happens when people don't post stuff, and this game's kind of screwed up. But effectively, it has less vertical and slightly and more balanced side-to-side recoil than the AK. That's all I can really give you from feel of the weapon. It has a similar multiplier, and overall for like accuracy stats and stuff like that, I'm going to assume it's similar to the AK just because the weapons are somewhat close. The major difference between the weapon is not only does it have the slightly less recoil, at least slightly less balanced recoil, it also has a much faster rate of fire at 750 RPM, which is about the speed of some of the carbines and other assault rifles in this game. Yet the thing is that it does the same amount of damage as the AK. So the gun's going to trade out a tiny bit of range for just overall better performance. So the main thing about the weapon is that makes it so good is that it just dumpsters people. And I mean, unless you're going up against like a good, trying to think of a good weapon on the criminal side that can actually compete with it. Maybe like the M416, because the only weapons I see actually playing up a fight against it are either that or like the FAL or the FAL OSW variant. So there's not really many things that can hold up to it in terms of time to kill. And yeah, so sorry guys once again that I couldn't get all the stats. Just it's hard, and I don't have people to test this with, and I don't have a server, so I can't just go in and test this stuff really quickly, and I don't have the tools to test it anyways, so that's kind of my bad. But try and make it up to you guys with the next ones, because the next ones I already have stats for. So either way, let's get on to my preferred setup with the weapon and talk to you guys some opinions on the weapon. So firstly, the MDC is a DLC weapon, so unless you have, I believe it's not the robbery DLC, it's one, I don't know, I don't remember which DLC, because the only one I don't have is the first DLC, which I believe is criminal activity. So I don't exactly remember off the top of my head, sorry about that guys. I do know though is that it costs around like 40,000, 32,000, something like that to purchase, and overall, for the way that I would kit this weapon out, I would recommend running any red dot, specifically the comp red dot is my favorite, and I would recommend either the muzzle brake or the heavy barrel, same as the AK. And this is where things get a bit different. I would recommend running either the stubby grip or the angled foregrip. I do not recommend the vertical foregrip because the gun actually has decent stats while it's moving compared to the AK. And the thing is that this is one of the few weapons, because of how balanced its recoil is, you don't have to force it into recoil, like, to make it more accurate, like, controllable-wise. So you can actually kit it more towards just straight accuracy. So the stubby grip will just give you better accuracy while standing. And the heavy barrel will also give you more accuracy while standing, and it will also reduce a little bit of your recoil. As for the muzzle brake is mostly just so, you know, if you really have trouble controlling the weapon, then yeah. As for tips and tricks for how to use these weapons, there are only two ways you can really, there's only two ways to really use them. One is extremely volatile, the other is not. The AK and the MDR, or MDC in this case, can both be used as a tap fire weapon, or you can slap them in semi-auto and use them like that. I don't recommend this unless you're really good with trigger discipline, or you know exactly like how to control the recoil, like I do in some cases. Other than that, I recommend, if you're using them, for the first 3 shots, control your recoil as well as you can, and try and get all your first shots on target. For the rest of it, just spray. Like, if you're just going to hold down the trigger, just spray for the rest of it. As much as I can say is most people think that's a bad idea. The thing is that the weapons get inaccurate with each shot very much faster than most other weapons. So if you're, after those first few shots, your bullets are going to go a bit over the place anyways. But the recoil settles out, so as long as you're aiming in their general direction, you will eventually hit them. And because it requires you 1 to 2 less bullets to kill in close range compared to other weapons, you'll have enough damage, especially if you hit a lucky headshot, that you'll kill them before they'll most likely kill you. Unless it's a battle rifle, in which then you're just screwed. As for my opinion on the guns altogether, I love the AK. I will always love the AK, even though I know it is quite possibly one of the best, but yet one of the worst weapons in the class, specifically just because unless you're getting that 3-shot kill, the weapon is kind of bad, and even then you have to be within a certain range to be able to even get that 3-shot, and then if you don't get that 3-shot, or if you miss a bullet, you're pretty much screwed to any other weapon. Same thing with the MDR, but the MDR has more, as I said, the MDR is more versatile, and you can have more chances to kill people with it. So overall, I recommend buying these weapons, if you can, obviously, in the case of the MDC. As for the AK, I forgot to touch on this in the actual review of the weapon. There is another weapon called the RPK, which I will not be reviewing, because it's literally the AK, except that it trades out slightly worse accuracy and slightly less recoil. Like it's like a 0.01 difference in recoil in some cases. Like, and it's like a I think it's like a 0.01 degree. Like, it trades out like super tiny stats for an increased mag size up to 50 instead of the max of 35 with extended mags, and then it increases its reload speed, or it decreases its reload speed, so you're reloading slower. Literally, I would say the same thing about the AK. If you like it, then use it. I recommend the AK more just because the AK is a bit more versatile, and that faster reload will help you out in the situations where you'd probably most likely use it. But if you like both of them, I would recommend grabbing either one. But that's why I'm not going to review it, because it's so close to the original weapon that there's no point reviewing it. As for that, yeah, that's the end of the review, guys. For my next episode, I will probably either be doing the FAL, the OSW variant, since I don't own like the FAL straight up in game, but I own the FAL OSW, so I'll go over that weapon. And other than that, I might try and do the M416 next chance I get. And those will be the 2 next weapons on the roster. Hope you guys enjoyed. Sorry if I'm a bit rambly, but I wanted to get this video out, and I had this gameplay with the AK and the MDC for a while, and I was getting really irritated trying to get any more gameplay, so I decided I would post it, both of them together, since they're similar, and because I said I would do this video, and I held it off for almost a month. So yeah, sorry about that, guys, to anyone who's been here before, like a few days ago, a few months ago. Well, anyone who was here during those videos. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. I'll be seeing you guys all later. Might post one more video today if I'm lucky. And yeah, see ya.